As I mentioned, I was one of very few Australians when I first came here, and I very, very quickly learned that, and yes, it was pretty much an international, and I agree with Sheila. I think we had 60 countries. You know, there were people from all over, countries that I didn't even know existed in the world, but there were people there from those countries. But predominantly it was Americans. There were Peace Corps guys, families dealing with Vietnam, dealing with all sorts of things going on. Predominantly American guys. And I very, very, very quickly decided that to fit into this, I'm going to have an American accent. So it wasn't hard to do. The American accent is not hard to do. It just depends which part of America you want to come from. Whether you wanted to do the Brian Booties of the world, or you wanted to come from the Lynn Chesler from the oral countries, or needless to say, I developed an American accent. And I would go home each night and we'd be sitting around the table with Mum and Dad, and I'd be talking like this to Mum and Dad. And the phone would ring up, the phone, "Oh, hi." And then Mum and Dad would sit there killing themselves laughing and say, "God, look, you're in the American accent." I said, "Yeah, but everybody talks with an American accent at school." So I talk with an American accent. Even Martin Fisher, coming from Germany, talked with an American accent, as he does now, but he lives there. So anyway, I was sitting in English and in one of Tom Clisham's classes one day, and I remember I'd been there. There was a new guy, and I really didn't know him at the stage. Peter Dornbos was his name, and he was sitting behind me, and we were doing an activity or something, and using pencils, and Peter had made an error, obviously, and I heard him lean over to somebody beside him and say, "Hey, can I borrow your rubber?" Now, in Australia, rubber's an eraser, but I very, very quickly learned it was not something you said in American school. Going through the early 70s love time, and you just didn't, so I just clicked, and I leant back on my chair and I just said, "Hey, where are you from?" And he said, "I'm from New Zealand." I said, "I'm from Australia." He said, "Bullshit, you're a Yank." I said, "I'm not, I'm Australian." So I convinced him. And we were just talking about it, which reminded me, it became the thing. Peter and I became more Australian than any other Australian in the world because people loved it. We would go to the thing, and I spoke proper English, as Australians do. We're the only ones in the world that don't have accents, by the way. And we would go to the golf club, and when you ordered strawberry ice cream, people would love strawberry. Lenny Cheslaw called me Strawberry. That was my nickname because she laughed. It was strawberry. It's got to be pronounced strawberry. Well, strawberry. Why take the long way around? You can take the short way. So Peter and I, we chop words, we're quick, we do all that sort of stuff. It's just what you do. We're lazy race, very, very lazy race. But Peter and I were digging up Australianisms from 40 years ago. I guarantee they used them in the trenches in the Second World War, that people still didn't talk that way in Australia. But nobody here knew that. You know, we were one out, so we got away with stuff that was... and as Peter said, you know, our parents would say, "What are you doing talking about that?" So, yeah, the American kids love it. They absolutely love it. So it was all about g'day and wearing slouch hats and doing all that sort of stuff. Anything that identified as Australian, which was really good. One out, I was scared to be Australian, with somebody who that I could assimilate with and be proud of who I was and what I was. It came out. And once I became comfortable with that, it didn't matter anymore. It was just an amazing transition. So just a little postscript that I wanted to add. Thank you.